When we talk about men's health, most people immediately jump to the big, intimidating topics: labs, medications, complicated treatments. But what if I told you that sometimes the most meaningful changes start with something as small, as familiar as that cup of tea you drink every morning? Evidence-based habits for hormonal health are often overlooked because people tend to focus on dramatic solutions rather than consistent, scientifically grounded routines. Hormones, including testosterone, operate on delicate feedback loops influenced by diet, sleep, stress, physical activity, and even small patterns in our daily rituals. When we rely on habits that have been studied, measured, and understood through clinical research, we give our bodies the best chance to function in a balanced and predictable way. Testosterone production in particular responds to cues from lifestyle, and these cues add up in quiet yet powerful ways. What you drink, how you nourish yourself, your micronutrient intake, and your routines throughout the day can either support your endocrine system or create subtle disruptions that build over time. Many people assume that hormones fluctuate wildly due to genetics alone, or that meaningful improvement requires supplements or medication. But evidence consistently shows that even tiny, repeatable choices influence hormonal regulation. For example, certain nutrients support testosterone synthesis by participating in enzymatic pathways that convert cholesterol into active hormones. Others help reduce oxidative stress or inflammation, both of which can suppress hormonal activity. When you understand these mechanisms, your daily habits stop feeling random and start feeling intentional, because each choice is backed by research that demonstrates how the body responds. This is why something as simple as your morning tea becomes more than just a routine. It's an opportunity to introduce ingredients that are known to support metabolic stability, vascular health, or nutrient absorption, all factors that indirectly affect testosterone levels. Evidence-based habits remove guesswork. Instead of hoping a trending supplement or rigid routine works, you're relying on documented effects, biochemical logic, and predictable outcomes. This approach also makes healthy changes easier to maintain because the focus shifts from extreme interventions to small, repeatable actions that fit naturally into your life. The power of evidence-based habits is not in how dramatic they look, but in how consistently they influence your internal environment. Hormonal balance does not thrive on extremes. It thrives on stability, measured choices, and routines grounded in a clear understanding of how the body works. When you begin to see your everyday actions through this lens, you recognize that hormonal health is built from the ground up, shaped by decisions you have full control over each day. Small daily routines often carry far more weight in shaping long-term wellness than people realize. And tea preparation is a perfect example of this concept. Most of us think of our morning or evening tea as a calming ritual, something we do without much thought. But these small, repetitive actions influence our metabolism, energy regulation, nutrient absorption, and ultimately our hormonal environment. Hormones respond to patterns, not isolated events. That means something you do every single day, even if it seems insignificant, can send continuous signals to your body that either support or hinder optimal function. Tea itself is rich in antioxidants, polyphenols, and compounds that affect inflammation and circulation. When prepared intentionally, it becomes more than a soothing beverage. It becomes a micro habit that encourages balance in systems tied closely to testosterone production, including stress regulation and cardiovascular health. The ingredient you choose to add to your tea can alter its nutritional profile, enhance its supportive properties, and help you leverage a routine you already enjoy to benefit your overall hormonal health. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't require forcing a new habit or overhauling your lifestyle. It simply reframes something you're already doing into a more effective tool for wellness. Daily routines act like silent architects of long-term hormonal patterns. If your tea preparation includes ingredients that stabilize blood sugar, support micronutrient intake, or reduce inflammation, then your endocrine system receives steady reinforcement every morning. If, on the other hand, your routines rely heavily on sugar, stimulants, or empty calories, the cumulative effect can be subtle dysregulation that builds slowly over time. This is why seemingly tiny choices matter. The body is constantly adjusting, constantly responding, and constantly interpreting the signals you give it. When those signals are consistent and supportive, you create a foundation where hormones can function more efficiently. The simplicity of modifying a routine like tea preparation also empowers people who feel overwhelmed by the idea of improving their health. It shows that powerful shifts don't always require dramatic action. Small, strategic adjustments deliver steady benefits because they are easy to maintain and naturally integrated into daily life. Every time you lift that cup, you have an opportunity to promote a healthier internal environment, and over weeks and months, these micro decisions accumulate into real, measurable changes in how your body feels and functions. There's a persistent misconception that maintaining healthy testosterone levels demands complicated treatments, expensive supplements, or aggressive medical interventions, and this belief often prevents people from focusing on the simple, foundational habits that have a far greater influence on hormonal balance. Many individuals assume that if they feel fatigued, unmotivated, or not quite themselves, the next logical step is to search for a dramatic solution. In reality, testosterone regulation is deeply tied to basic biological processes such as sleep quality, nutrient intake, physical activity, and stress management. These factors interact with the endocrine system every single day, shaping hormone production and signaling far more reliably than any quick fix ever could. The idea that testosterone health is inherently complex creates unnecessary pressure and confusion. People begin to overlook the significance of their daily behaviors, thinking they need something advanced or specialized to see meaningful change. This mindset not only leads to frustration, but also distracts from practical actions that support the body naturally. Scientific research consistently shows that lifestyle choices play a pivotal role in maintaining hormonal equilibrium. Regular movement improves circulation, which assists in hormone transport. Adequate protein and micronutrients help fuel hormone synthesis. Restorative sleep regulates the brain's hormonal control centers. Stress reduction lowers cortisol, a hormone that can suppress testosterone when chronically elevated. None of these habits require complicated protocols. They simply require consistency. Focusing too heavily on elaborate solutions also encourages people to ignore subtle signs from their bodies. Instead of observing how their energy levels shift after a week of better rest or noting changes in mood after adopting a healthier routine, they may wait for a single dramatic treatment to solve everything. But hormones thrive on balance, not intensity. The body is designed to respond to steady, supportive signals rather than abrupt, drastic changes. Simple habits offer those steady signals, helping the endocrine system recalibrate in a predictable way. This is why emphasizing uncomplicated, accessible strategies is so important. When people understand that testosterone balance does not hinge on extreme measures, they feel more empowered to take an active role in their own wellness. They begin to see that small adjustments, how they nourish themselves, how they move, how they manage stress, are not just minor details, but major contributors to their hormonal health. This shift in perspective transforms the process from overwhelming to achievable, giving individuals the confidence to build routines that support their bodies in a sustainable, lifelong way. Introducing a simple, natural ingredient that supports metabolic and hormonal function is often surprising to people because they've been conditioned to believe that only complex formulas or hard-to-find supplements can make a meaningful difference. Yet some of the most effective tools for supporting testosterone levels come directly from whole, accessible foods and botanicals that work with the body's natural physiology. When an ingredient contains nutrients that participate in hormone synthesis, antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress, or compounds that improve circulation and nutrient delivery, it becomes far more than a flavor enhancer. It becomes a quiet partner in hormonal balance. The right addition to your tea can elevate an everyday habit into a purposeful wellness practice simply by providing your body with what it needs in a form it can easily use. Testosterone production relies on a network of metabolic pathways that depend on specific vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds. When the body lacks these essential building blocks, the hormonal system has to work harder to function properly. This is where the right ingredient added to tea can make a meaningful difference. Many natural ingredients are rich in micronutrients like zinc, magnesium, or polyphenols, or contain adaptogenic compounds that help buffer stress responses, reduce inflammation, or support mitochondrial function. Because tea is already a warm, soothing medium, it helps these nutrients absorb more efficiently and encourages the body to shift into a state where hormonal processes can operate more smoothly. What makes this approach especially powerful is its simplicity. There's no disruption to your routine, no complicated instructions, and no steep learning curve. You're taking a habit that already exists in your life and optimizing it so your body receives a consistent supply of supportive compounds. Over time, this steady reinforcement helps maintain healthier metabolic function, supports stable energy levels, and contributes to an internal environment where testosterone can be produced and utilized effectively. It's a way of nourishing the endocrine system through small daily acts of care rather than overwhelming it with drastic changes. This perspective helps people understand that hormonal wellness doesn't need to be intimidating. It can be built into the rituals you already enjoy, making it far more sustainable and intuitive. A single ingredient, chosen with intention, can shift your routine from passive to proactive, giving your body the steady support it needs to maintain balance and vitality in a natural, approachable way. Encouraging people to take ownership of their health through informed choices is one of the most empowering shifts anyone can make, especially when it comes to hormonal balance. Many individuals feel disconnected from the idea that their daily actions influence how their bodies function, and this disconnect often leads to frustration or a sense of helplessness. When someone understands not only what to do, but why it matters, they begin to approach their health with curiosity rather than fear. This mindset transforms wellness from a reactive process, fixing problems after they arise, to a proactive one where small, thoughtful decisions help support long-term vitality. Empowerment doesn't come from being handed a complicated regimen. It comes from being given clear, digestible knowledge that helps you make choices with confidence. One of the most impactful aspects of taking ownership is recognizing that you don't need perfection to see benefits. What matters far more is consistency paired with understanding. When you know how your body responds to nourishment, movement, rest, and stress, you start making choices that feel purposeful rather than forced. This sense of agency can dramatically change how people approach their routines. Instead of viewing health as a series of strict rules or overwhelming tasks, it becomes a set of tools that you learn to use in a way that fits your lifestyle. For many, even learning how a single ingredient can support their hormonal environment reframes the entire conversation, showing that wellness can be accessible and intuitive rather than complicated. Informed ownership also reduces the anxiety that comes from conflicting information. When people understand the foundational principles of how their bodies function, they're less likely to chase trends or feel pressured by quick fixes. They begin asking deeper questions, evaluating their habits with a clearer lens and choosing what genuinely supports their well-being instead of what promises instant results. This shift builds resilience, not only in the body but in the mindset that drives everyday decisions. Feeling knowledgeable creates a sense of partnership with your own biology, where you're not just hoping for improvement, but actively participating in it. Ultimately, taking ownership builds long-lasting confidence. It encourages individuals to trust themselves, to experiment safely, to observe how their choices make them feel, and to refine their routines in a way that aligns with their goals. This empowered approach turns health into something you shape day by day, using information as your guide and your daily habits as the building blocks of long-term hormonal balance and overall wellness. Setting the stage for curiosity, empowerment, and practical next steps is essential when guiding someone toward improving their hormonal health, especially in a world filled with overwhelming and often conflicting information. Curiosity opens the door to understanding, and understanding fuels motivation. When someone becomes genuinely curious about how their body works, they stop seeing wellness as a chore and start seeing it as an opportunity to learn, adjust, and grow. This mindset makes it easier to engage with new routines and to recognize the value in small lifestyle adjustments that might otherwise be dismissed as insignificant. Curiosity transforms passive listeners into active participants, ready to explore how everyday choices shape their internal health landscape. Once curiosity is sparked, empowerment begins to take root. Empowerment doesn't come from being told what to do. It comes from realizing that you have the ability to influence your own well-being through intentional habits. Many people are used to feeling like health is something that happens to them, dictated by genetics, age, or circumstances beyond their control. But when they understand that even simple actions, like adding one thoughtful ingredient to their tea, can contribute to hormonal balance over time, that sense of agency strengthens. Empowerment reinforces consistency because people are far more likely to stick with something when they understand the reasoning behind it and believe in their ability to make a difference. This naturally leads to the importance of practical next steps. Big ideas are valuable, but action is where transformation begins. Practical steps create a bridge between knowledge and real change, helping people apply what they've learned in ways that feel manageable and realistic. Instead of feeling pressured to overhaul their entire lifestyle, they can start with small, accessible habits that build momentum. The goal is not perfection, but progress, and progress becomes much more attainable when the steps are clear, simple, and aligned with everyday routines. These steps become touch points of consistency that support hormonal health quietly but powerfully. By combining curiosity, empowerment, and practical action, people develop a grounded and sustainable approach to wellness. They begin to appreciate how subtle adjustments lead to meaningful improvements and how their bodies respond to care that is thoughtful rather than extreme. This framework sets them up not just for short-term success, but for long-term confidence in their ability to support their hormonal health and overall well-being through informed, intentional choices.